What do you think is just so unfair? I got my first dog a little over 2 years ago, and I had to put him down 3 months ago tomorrow. Dubs was a boxer that was 5.5 when I got him. I went through a lot of crap the 2 years he was with me, but no matter what, I knew that I could go home and have something there that was happy to see me. I treated that dog better than people I know treat their kids. Weekly steak dinners, trips to the local ice cream place where they made a soft serve vanilla cup with milk bones on top of it. Tons of toys and treats. That dog made me so happy, and I know I did the same for him. He started not being himself, and after a bunch of tests, they confirmed that he had Cushing's disease. I got him the meds for it, but he kept getting worse. Then the vet ran tests on him, and they found a bunch of tumors on his lungs and a huge one on his pancreas. He kept going downhill, and a week after the x rays, I had to take him in. That was the worst day of my life and the hardest decision I've ever had to make. He was laying across my lap, and I was singing "You Are My Sunshine" to him. The doctor did the injections, and all of a sudden, he stopped breathing and went limp. That right there is the worst thing I've ever felt. I completely broke down after that. Almost everyone in my life has left me, but saying goodbye to Dubs was by far and wide the worst thing that has ever happened. I prayed to every deity for that week for those tumors to come out of him and into me. But obviously, that would never happen. The only comfort that I have is that hopefully at some point he will be by my side wagging his little nub again. Also, sorry about the rant. I rarely open up, but seeing this just made me feel like getting it out there. Dubs is probably chilling in doggy heaven right now, enjoying an all-you-can-eat steak buffet and a never-ending supply of milk bone ice cream, just happily, patiently waiting for his owner. Story 2. The way American society is set up for young people, you start direct learning at the age of 5, and by the time you're 15, you realize that nothing you've learned is actually important, that it's all about passing tests and making numbers happen, so you can go to college and get a degree. Well, that's all fine and dandy until you're 20 and realize that not only do you have no idea what you're going to do with your future, but this degree you're studying for is the same as the last one, all about showing you can work your rear end off rather than actually learning anything. And then it hits you. Well, what if that's the whole point? Yes, the entire reason you were put in a hostile environment with people who hated you, slaving away for at least 8 hours total every day, almost continuously for the past 15 years, was to get you used to being a mindless office drone for the next 40 years. And the only reason you notice is because up until you reach college, you didn't have to do much work, already knowing the stuff you were being taught from previous independent reading. And as if that wasn't bad enough, the system doesn't work anymore. We're told that we need to go to school to get a degree. And that degree will be our guaranteed ticket granting us our first job so we can reach that crucial first rung on the workforce ladder. Except now a degree won't guarantee you a job anymore because now everybody has one. Why? Because, well, we were all told to. Essentially, we're prepared from early childhood for a path in life that is no longer obtainable due to its ubiquity and nobody is going to do anything to fix it. The people who manage this sort of thing either don't think it needs fixing, can't fix it, or they don't know how. Story 3. My scholarship paid almost £78,000 for my education in the UK at an overseas student rate. I spent more than £3,000 for my student visa, which does not entitle me to work in this country. So I have worked my butt off for a US company, being remotely employed as a developer to stay afloat financially, while at the same time had to combine my job with my studies and research for the last 4 years. I had no social life, no time for any sort of entertainment, even weekends spent learning new material. I pay almost £300 for transport, $1,000 for rent, and at least $400 for food every month. I have a family, and my wife cannot work because she's taking care of my 6-month-old daughter. I have no benefits whatsoever. I pay £200 NHS surcharge for each of my family members every year. Now, I am thinking of staying in the UK for work after graduation, but there are even tougher obstacles I need to overcome. I have to spend about £3,000 to £4,000 on visa and show that I have almost £30,000, 3 people times 9-month living costs in my bank. Moreover, the NHS surcharge for 3 years for 3 people is £1,800. I'm not counting the costs of living, such as rent, utilities, etc., or any taxes that are paid by everyone here. These are just some administrative fees I have to pay regularly in order to be legally employed in the UK. After this much effort, so much time and money spent for obtaining the PhD from a top 5 university in the UK, I feel so much disgusted when someone shows up from Pakistan or Afghanistan or anywhere else and says that he was prosecuted in his country for his belief or political views or any similar BS, and is open-handedly granted an asylum which he then starts to misuse. Besides being exempt from any visa fees or even taxes and depending fully on benefits for an indefinite time, he can also bring his whole extended family from his country of origin and create even more pressure on the welfare system. They have full rights for healthcare, education, and work, and this comes absolutely free. But there are some who give zero care for these rights and carry on leeching the system they never created or contributed to. The worst thing is when they fail to integrate and learn the language, culture, and values of this country, but they bring their crap with them and start exploiting the system to their end. It seems to me that it is utterly unfair toward people who are working here for many years, paying their taxes on time, and have fully integrated into the society to put up with more tougher visa regulations because of the costs incurred by asylum seekers and economic migrants. It seems Britain needs more asylum seekers and PhD graduates, as the former has more chances to stay and enjoy life in the UK. Story 4. I've had better luck hiring friends of current employees than I have hiring random people off the streets. They tend to be better employees. Sometimes someone sounds great on paper and they end up being horrible. Sometimes you hire someone who didn't even have a paper and they end up being a solid employee. My employees know what I expect of them and they can tell their friends exactly what is expected. I feel like most job applicants that are looking for a job are just that, looking for the absolute first company who says yes, regardless of how well the fit actually is. I remember I had one employee a while back. Based on his resume, you would pretty much think the entire economy would collapse if he missed work one day. Employers verified dates and titles. He lasted a month before everyone got tired of his crap and we let him go. Arrogant, condescending, and lazy. Bonus, since he was still on probationary pay, he was also the lowest paid employee. Story 5. That I've been blamed for my own mistreatment and or accused of lying about it, and that happens to people all the time. Like, what the heck? Everyone thinks, well, if this happened at my school, I wouldn't be like those guys and stand up for criminals. Yes, you probably would because no one wants to believe a guy, especially a friend, would do something like that. It is a lot easier for everyone to think one of my friends is a liar slash attention seeker, etc. than, ooh, one of my friends mistreated someone? I had such low self-esteem that I never confronted any one of my friends about the fact that they knew what happened, but we're still hanging out with the guy. Sheesh. I still hung out with him for a few years later and acted like that was normal. I didn't press charges because I felt guilty about what might happen to him. I'm glad I didn't because I don't think he's a bad person, but the thought didn't even cross my mind. I think maybe I was a little bit brainwashed. Perhaps I was wrong about the whole nice guy part. Enough people tell you he's too nice to have meant to do anything to hurt you on purpose, and you start to believe it. That said, I still forgive this person and have let go of the years of pain that followed. Story 6. This might not be the kind of thing everyone else is posting, but this is one thing that I take to heart. I think people with disabilities are getting financially held back, meaning some people can't get disability, they get denied. Okay, that sounds weird. I'll just go a tiny bit into my problem. I sustained a traumatic brain injury 2 years ago. My family and I are paying out of pocket from donations for a lot of my treatments, from rehab to specialized doctors. I go to rehab 5 days a week. Each therapist costs around $100 each. I go to PT, OT, ST. You guys can do the math from there. Adults only have the option to apply for SSDI or something or the TBI fund in their state. I got denied from both. Disability told me to go to the VA, and TBI fund denied me because of the kind of injury I have. It wasn't the, quote, preferred injury. Kids, on the other hand, are able to get help from all different nonprofit organizations. They get all the attention. It goes along with any sort of illness or disability. There's probably crap for obese kids. Kids and their family get all the help, but once you turn 18, then you're out of luck. So, wow, the system is basically like, sorry kid, you got a concussion? Here's a lifetime supply of therapy puppies. Oh, adult. Figure it out, champ. You can do it on your own. Story 7. I'm late to the party, but my dad recently stopped helping my older sister with college money. About $450 a month, which is half of what he was paying in child support before she graduated, so that he could send my younger sister to Indonesia for a vacation. Personally, even though I'm not really a part of this just strikes me as blatantly unfair. My little sister, she's 9. She hasn't spent any time learning any languages. She's not the top of her class, if there even is a, quote, top of the class ranking in the 4th grade. Meanwhile, my older sister is in a difficult program, biomedical sciences, gets straight A's. I think she got a B once and she beat herself up over it. My older sister is fluent in Russian and has never once even crossed his mind to send her to Russia. And I know what you're thinking, that they had some sort of falling out due to clashing political opinions or a new boyfriend or something. Nope. They disagree politically, but they have since she was still in high school and she's been dating the same guy for like 4 years now. My prediction is that they're still going to try to claim her on taxes, but we'll see. My dad has ADD, but he refuses to take any medication for it, so I honestly think he just doesn't even think about it. But I would think once it was pointed out, he would try to make up for it. I don't know. I still think it's unfair. Story 8. My mom is a doctor. She sometimes doesn't make it home until midnight because she works so hard and goes above and beyond for her patients. She has spent hundreds of her own dollars on her patients as children so they can have Christmas presents. She's bought a child a bike who could never afford one and delivered to him on a Christmas Eve. She's the director of our community children's theater and has created a great organization for kids to learn and to grow. She runs a therapy group, and today it has helped 60 people get clean. When we were in China, my mother literally took the socks off her feet for a homeless person. A month ago, my mother had a massive stroke. She will never work again. She will probably never speak correctly again. My entire hometown, only 6,000 people, is devastated. I'm devastated. So that Reddit is what's unfair. Helping people was my mom's life. I used to believe in karma. I don't know what the heck I believe in anymore. Story 9. The Netherlands just isn't great. Even though my house and school are both in the same city and it takes me just half an hour by bus, I have to pay about 1.5 bucks to just get to school or to get home. I had 50 bucks at the beginning of this week. Now I have about 35 bucks. To me, it seems really expensive, especially since I'm not even leaving the city. And there's also the fact that if you live in the Netherlands and you decide to order something online from a country that's not in the European Union, you will have to pay taxes and additional shipping costs if your package is over 22 bucks. And the additional shipping costs are 13 bucks, 17.50 if you had to ship with EMS, and they're on top of your standard shipping costs, which are usually 10 bucks or something. The additional shipping costs are just because they brought your package of over 22 bucks to your house. Of course, if you buy something that's over 150 bucks, you have to pay even more. But this seems really unfair when you think about the fact that if you buy packages from the EU, you will never have to pay extra, no matter the cost of the package. Story 10. Throwaway. It's completely unfair that so many kids go through mistreatment. I stayed at my aunt's house every Monday night from birth until about the age of 8 and 9 because my mom worked nights. Then my uncle started mistreating me. Eventually it came out that he had mistreated most of the females in the family and he was excommunicated, but that's the extent of his, quote, punishment. Because of that horrible schmuck, I couldn't sleep on my own for years because I was scared that he was going to come for me. This led to tension within the family because my parents didn't know why I needed to sleep in their bed. Not only that, by the time I was 15, I was severely depressed. Add that onto anxiety, obsessions, and you've got a messed up situation that in no way was fair. It seems it was me who had to get punished. I really wish this didn't happen to me. I wouldn't wish it on my greatest enemies. Story 11. That these frickin' schmucks I work with still have jobs. I swear to God, if I ran a business like this one, I would deserve to lose my shirt. Fortunately/unfortunately, we make a crap ton of money for the company. The thing is, there are about 4 of us that really kick the bucket, and we're spread thin across 3 shifts. We're 24/7, 365. The rest, 20-something screw-ups, work very hard to avoid work, don't bother to show up, or just don't give a single care. For example, tonight I'm covering a shift for a coworker that covered a shift for me last week. We do this so we can meet minimum staffing requirements. Tonight's minimum staffing number is 4. There are 3 others scheduled tonight, one of which hasn't been showing up for work for a few weeks. Not uncommon for her, she's working the system. And one shows up 2 hours late and then puts 2 hours VAC on the schedule after he gets here. We're supposed to submit vacation requests to our supervisor, and the other one just isn't freaking showed up. Now, this isn't an entry-level position. If I had to guess salaries between the 4 of us that were scheduled, the lowest would probably be in the mid-$70,000 range and the top would be around $110,000. Holy crap. Story 12. That I'm trying very hard to work in public service. Actually had a good job in 2013, but was then probationary, released due to something completely out of my control, and a cowardly supervisor. So, what do I get 2 years later while still applying for jobs? We're sorry, but your probationary release is still a little fresh for us to consider hiring you. Like, what in the literal heck am I supposed to do? The 1 to 2 places that have let me actually explain what happened still pass on me, but literally everyone else is saying, oh well, get on somewhere else and you can apply again with us and we'll see how it goes. Like, seriously? That's no different than the whole cycle of needing experience to get this job, but this job is a basic entry level position. I'm beyond stressed, angry, and frustrated with my current situation, and I 100% believe it is unfair. Thank God or whoever for my friends being such supportive people and my family for helping me make important decisions, because this is beyond unfair in my view. Story 13. The current system of trying to live on your own. I can do everything by the book. I work 40 hours a week. I work in a cancer clinic doing good things for good people. But between car payments, car insurance, phone bill, electric, rent, internet, groceries, gas, etc., it's near impossible. And everything is bare minimum for me already. I can't tell you the last time I went out to a restaurant or to a movie or hell bought myself new clothes. And every month it's a juggle to figure out how I can best pay everything in what order, who can I delay, who do I need to pay now just to survive. I mean, just to keep my place at 78 degrees in the summer cost me $200 a month. For electricity, a basic human necessity. What part of the American dream is attainable by the average person? Yes, I'm working on my degree as well, and hopefully, after hundreds and thousands of dollars of crippling debt, I'll be a pharmacist. But that's at least 5 years down the road, and until then, I get to be miserable? Whatever happened to just living average and being happy? It's like if I don't earn triple digits at the end of the year, you're doomed to struggle. Story 14. That gaps in your CV look suspicious and companies basically demand an explanation and see it as a negative thing. I had a job before I freaking graduated in 2009 from uni. I had to come home for my graduation from overseas. I've had a job almost every day since leaving uni and got screwed over by the 2 or 3 companies I worked for, working over Christmas, giving up pre-planned holidays. Also, I look more dedicated in the hopes you keep me on board in a world where people are getting let go left and right due to cost savings. So, yes, I spent 2 months traveling to dream destinations while I'm young, single, and have some savings to burn. Yes, after finding a job after those 2 months and staying there a year, being worked to the bone by awful management, doing 4 people's jobs because they couldn't justify hiring someone to help, therefore developing insomnia for 3 months and dipping my feet in the depression pool and contemplating to end it all for the first time in my life. You're dang right I've come to the end of a 3 month lapse where I sat around recovering at home with my parents. I can finally sleep properly again. And now I'm here, looking for work. But please tell me how this company is going to screw me over in the future so I can pretend to contemplate whether I want this job or not. Story 15. How I didn't get a job. I was the only applicant for a crappy petrol station job, only one to interview, only one who was desperate enough to work a graveyard shift. I absolutely nailed the interview and walked away a happy man. 2 weeks later, I rang up asking why I could get an ETA on knowing if I got the job or not so I could plan holidays around work or not plan any at all. They were fine with that and said maybe another week. Why? Get this, since I was the only applicant, they put the ad out again to get more in. Now, that would have been fine by me, it makes sense, but guess what? Not 2 hours later, I got an email saying I didn't get the job. I was speechless and rang up for some interview feedback to see if I could improve my next interview wherever. So I rang them up and I got told that they wanted someone a bit older. I'm 19 and have 3 years of customer service, which was great, and they loved my attitude and answers to their questions. I was livid. I was the only person to want that job, and you got the guts to reject me even though you couldn't get anyone else? Honestly, if they hadn't told me that they couldn't get anyone else, I would have put this down as another failed interview, but knowing I was the only one and they liked me, I was pretty hurt when I heard that. Yes, I know they can hire whoever they want as the job market is so crap right now, but it didn't seem fair to me. 2 years and still no job, I can't see it ending. Story 16. I can't eat nightshades at all. No tomatoes, no potatoes, no peppers of any kind, no eggplant. I had an autoimmune thing a few years back and developed a bunch of stupid allergies, also shellfish, bees, cats, pollen, a lot of soap, etc. So not only can I not eat french fries with ketchup without feeling like I'm screwed, most people don't know or don't believe a nightshade allergy is a thing and they think I'm being difficult. My husband was raised with a hypochondriac mom who was always doing elimination diets, so he just can't get it in his head that I really can't eat this stuff. He's always offering me food I can't have. Twice he's gotten me to eat stuff with shellfish. How many times do I have to get anaphylaxis before he believes me? More than 3, apparently. I wish there was a pill that made it so I could eat real pizza. And if you're enjoying the video, learning a thing or two from these stories, please don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 17. Being forced to email work in, meanwhile the postal service is going under, and I'm forced to waste more time typing crap up that I could be sending in on paper through mail. Also, being forced to share with third world idiots and getting nothing in return except a terrible odor. Also, the fact any authority can stalk the hell out of whoever they want, same with any idiot who figures out how to use code in the right way. Having survival based around unfair wages that include making a corporation profit and getting no reward other than what is needed for basic survival. A product of sharing a nation with third world. They'll do anything for basic survival, and it's pretty pathetic they're satisfied living with such barrel bottom lives. They standard contaminate the rest of the system/country. The fact that the public is infinitely easier to govern than businesses, owners hog money out of circulation, and nobody does a thing. Story 18. 23% tax to private education in the People's Republic of Greece. Yeah, our prime minister signed this abomination into law under the pretense of it's going to make those who got the money pay, which is basically false given that tax evasion even now is rampant. But private education doesn't mean that English/German/ what have you foreign language school. It means some private boarding schools, I'm not sure how to call them, that deal with school subjects, since public education, save for the higher tiers like universities, is the definition of absolute crap. You need supplementary education to get into a university since high school doesn't give you what you need to pass the entry level exams. Hiring a private tutor is exempt from that taxation, but also more expensive than signing up in one of those boarding schools I mentioned. So much so that many lower middle class kids won't be able to get there and subsequently will fail the entry level exams either completely or will land in a worthless branch of an even worthless university. So here lies the paradox. People who pay taxes that keep the public universities running won't have access to these institutions and will be unable to send their own kids to these institutions. Story 19. The fact that, in America, kids that are 15 and 16 years old start high school where their grades will follow them basically the rest of your life. Oh, you want to go to a good college and be a CEO? Well, you can only go to state schools because you were a slacker before you could drive. Want to grow up and be a public figure? Sorry, you got a C in pre-AP World Geography. I'm obviously simplifying it, and it takes a couple of years of slacking, but I have struggled so hard because my high school GPA was bad. Then I went to a bad college. Now that I am mature enough to know what I want in life, it is so much further away, all because my 15-year-old self wasn't forward-thinking enough. I don't even believe that 18 is old enough to pick a college major. I wasn't mature enough to know any of this until I was about maybe 21. Maybe I'm just slow, but I think that is ridiculous how young kids are forced into making these types of decisions. Story 20. Needing to waste tons of time out of our lives to work just to afford shelter, food, and other necessities. We can't just build a house on some land even if we know how to. Instead, we have to pay for the land and make sure our homes are up to regulation codes. We can't go out and hunt food to eat whenever we want. We have to pay taxes off of the money we make, even if we don't want to be in a country or have all the benefits those taxes help provide. I firmly believe we should be free to do all of those things, or not, if we wish. Sure, a lot of people don't mind the way the world works now, but a lot of people don't. If I'm happy living off of the land in a house that I built myself, I should be allowed to. I was homeless for a time and learned what I found to be truly important in life. Shelter, food, well-being, and happiness is what motivates me. Sure, having cars, electricity, running water, internet, and other amenities is great, but that should be the stuff you pay for, not shelter and food if you can provide it yourself. I know a lot of people don't feel the same way, but humans came into this world without any of that stuff, providing our own shelter and food, so I believe we should be allowed to do just that if we wish. People should also be able to work and live as they do now if they wish. Story 21. I work with youth in a low-income area, and these kids have it rough. Most of them will basically become high school dropouts, criminals, and there's nothing we can realistically do about it. We have meetings every week about ways we can help improve these kids' future prospects, and we all have no idea what to do. We try to be there for them, we try to mentor and be role models. We try to show them that there's a better life outside this crap hole of a town, and hopefully one of them will take that and do good for themselves. But you know what would really help these kids? If their useless piece of crap parents would just give a crap for 5 minutes out of the day for their own damn kids. These people do not give a crap. They do not discipline their kids. They do not care where they go or what they do. And they don't care who they associate with. These kids look up to dealers and wannabe gangsters as their role models. Your kids' lives are messed up because you couldn't give 1 ounce of a crap. Your kid looks up to this dealer as more of a father than you. You are screwing your kid's life up and you don't give a crap. And he's being the same way to his kids, and the vicious cycle of poverty and general BS continues. Sorry for the rant, I just can't stand parents like this. These kids deserve better than the crappy hand they've been dealt. Story 22. I had a pretty well off childhood. My dad made good money, and we had a big house, nice cars, and I got a crap ton of Legos. However, my dad had a drinking problem, so my mom was always getting my brother and I out of the house, and I would go over to friends for the weekends a lot. I used to hate having people at my house, especially in middle and high school when I realized how crappy my dad really is. They would always talk about how lucky I was, and I would just be like, yeah, I guess. But dude, it really is awful having a parent that has no interest in you and just sits on the couch all day getting laid. I'm really lucky I had a great mom to make up for it. He started getting violent during my senior year of high school and tried to roughen up our neighbor because he was cutting trees down and making too much noise. My mom tried to stop him and he pushed her down, which pushed me over the edge. I had a weapon that I grabbed and whipped him across the head with. Then he took a baseball bat that was near the door and pushed me to the ground with it. I remember raising the weapon up, but I just couldn't pull the trigger. After that, he went to rehab and he's been in and out like 7 times. He always goes right back to drinking. He lost his job, his house, and wrecked 3 trucks in 2 years. My mom and brother now live in a small apartment, and I'm in school living off of a loan, so we're all struggling to get by. My dad has been mooching off his brother and living with his family for the past year and been to 3 different rehab programs this year alone. I always have dreams of that day, though, and I'll wake up sweating. Story 23. Personally, watching a parent slowly pass away. Back in 2014, I went out to start my life in Austin. About 2 weeks in, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 non small lung cancer. I gave up on starting my life to come back home to take care of him and my mother. Honestly, it's freaking awful. Only someone who has been in a similar situation would understand. But watching someone that took care of you your whole life is slowly and painfully fading away is sickening. It's more than just cancer. His cancer spread to his T2 vertebrae and shattered it, leading to him having 2 rods and 16 screws in his neck. Then one of his rods broke and shattered his T3 vertebrae. It feels like a battle every day, and I'm always worried his other rod will break and his head will fall down, and yes, that can happen. Just a few weeks ago, a tumor came up on his neck, and soon we will find out if the cancer has mutated or not. I'm beyond stress and hate. I have to be the one to keep everything together. I'm just 23. It's not fair, but that's what you do for your family. That's what you do for love. Story 24. I think childhood is the most unfair time of life. We are born knowing nothing, not even what we need to know. Children depend on their parents for food, clothing, shelter, emotional support, and early learning. Then we depend on our immediate culture for further education and direction. My first 18 years were amazingly lucky. See Ed Carruthers' answer to why life is so easy to you. Other people in other neighborhoods of my city and especially in other countries have amazingly unlucky childhoods. None are quote unquote fair in the sense of quote unquote earned. I no more earn my good luck than another child earning his bad luck. If we are lucky, we develop well and become more responsible, especially during and after high school. I can claim that my success during and after college was somewhat fair. There was still luck, but my role became more active. Other people with unlucky childhoods have less opportunity to direct their own lives. Some overcome their bad luck and they deserve admiration, but those who can't overcome their bad luck don't deserve to be scorned. Story 25. Athletes and entertainers' paychecks. I can never grasp how one can justify paying someone 7, 8, or 9 figures when the people that save our lives get paid a fraction of that. Also, this is supposed to be the great America. I am from the USA, yet we have countless homeless, vets, children, you name it. We could cut all the entertainers and athletes' paychecks in half, they'd still be rich, and I wouldn't have to see another homeless vet struggling to survive. Not fair at all. Story 26. The other day, I randomly ended up viewing some pics of starving children and their mothers. I was, at the time, nursing my own fat, healthy baby. It occurred to me that I haven't done anything special to have such a great life, and where any individual is born is like chance. If anything, those starving people probably worked a lot harder than I ever have, and that the world isn't a place of fairness and equality. When I was young, I thought good things happen to good people and bad people eventually get what they deserve, or anyone who works hard enough will succeed. The truth is that most people have very little control over their circumstances, and all around the world, people are born into hard lives. Sometimes good people do bad things to survive. Oftentimes, bad people end up with the most resources because of what they're willing to do to get them. No babies deserve to starve, but if there's no food, all the hard work in the world won't fix it. I decided to spend more time enjoying the good things I have in my life, have more fun with my children, make love with my husband, call my grandparents, and make use of all my opportunities while I have them. Story 27. Throwaway because I don't want to look at the post and bum myself out. Watching a stepfather leave and pass away of cancer shortly afterwards. Finally, after being together 10 years, you've come to accept someone as your real dad. Even call him that a couple of times accidentally. Yeah, he was strict, but he loved you. Then suddenly they split up. Mom regrets it. He regrets it. Okay, 2 months tops. It'll all be back to normal. It doesn't. You go off to college. Then you learn bone marrow cancer. He doesn't have long to live. You see him in October while he's in town. The strong man who cuts logs for a living and could almost lift a car by himself looks like he's aged 40 years and can barely walk. He still has hope. January, you're studying for a midterm and you get a call. He'll be gone in a few days. You go see him for the last time. He's so numb and out of it, takes him an hour to recognize you. His voice is so strained and distorted, it doesn't even sound like him. He says, "No matter what good or bad you do, I'll always love you." He passes away an hour after you left. You go to the funeral, and people mock you for not wanting to see him in his casket. This 28-year-old man, the strongest person I know, the man who promised he'd be there until the end, is gone. 4 years it's been, and I still miss him. I can't listen to AC/DC without crying. I'd give anything just to talk to him one last time. Story 28. Generational poverty. If you're born in it, it's a real uphill battle. Your school career is awful because either you didn't stay in one place long enough to learn or you went to the worst school where the environment isn't good for learning. Your parents can't help you. They're either absent or don't know how to help you. They too suffer from low education and don't have resources either. There's no way for them to pay for a tutor. Your cognitive abilities are affected, impulse control is lower. Odds are you're surrounded by bad habits and violence and have lost friends and family to it. It's more likely you have mental health problems but no access to help for that either. Never mind if you get caught up in trouble, the justice system is different for you even if you didn't do it. Yeah, right? And to make it all worse, everyone who didn't experience this thinks they know how you should solve the problems. Just work harder and stay out of trouble. That'll fix it. Story 29. Giving your parents loads of crap when you're young and you think you know best, only to realize later they were looking out for you with the biggest amount of love ever. When you finally see, you then realize that one day they won't be there anymore. That is truly freaking unfair. Probably the only thing more unfair is not being lucky enough to have good parents in the first place. Story 30. Freaking Alzheimer's disease. You live a whole life, overcome challenges, accomplish a lot, build a family or business or anything. You make memories that you're always told will be there when you have nothing else. Oh, wait, now you can't remember your own son, what a year is, or your first kiss. And it only gets more debilitating. And worse yet, your family, who you can't recognize anymore, gets to stay at your side while you slowly lose the ability to remember what made you all so close in the first place. Alzheimer's is the theft of one of the most intimate things a person can have in life. Story 31. When you're young, you have all the energy and time to do anything you want, but no money. When you're middle aged, you have all the energy and money to do anything you want, but no time. When you're old, you have all the time and money to do anything you want, but no energy. Story 32. Empathy works both ways, but sympathy is a one-way street. You can't stop empathizing, but you can stop sympathizing. Purposefully shutting down the feelings elicited by empathy feels horrible. The alternative is unfiltered stress caused by empathy. With empathy, you constantly experience collateral negativity for experiences that you're not responsible for. With sympathy, you judge what is worth caring about. Trying to develop healthy sympathy violates empathy's principles. It's unfair. Story 33. That it costs a lot to be poor, making the struggle and hardship much worse on the poor than on the rich. A few examples. Wealthy people can choose to buy a new car with very little associated maintenance costs and sell it again before the maintenance costs come rolling in. Less fortunate people can't afford that capex and have to buy a used car and pay for all the maintenance to keep it running. Wealthy people can save up money so they have a buffer to splash out in case the fridge breaks, for example. Less wealthy people never get to save up this buffer, and since they need a fridge, they have to go buy one using staged payments or layaway, ending up paying much more for the same fridge by the time it is paid off. The world sure is easier on rich men and making it hard for the rest of us to get out of the struggle. Story 34. The fact that who you know is sometimes more important than anything else. Doesn't matter how much more skilled you were, that other person knows the boss's daughter. People can totally cheat the tax system just because they have the connections to help out the guy who's supposed to be stopping them, etc. Story 35. The fact that life is a window where we watch others live, where you can be a morally good and right person, work hard, do good things for others of the way you feel is right, and struggle, all while you watch schmucks around you milk the world and the system for a free ride, in many cases, ending up more comfortable than yourself without having to lift a finger. There's nothing quite like the satisfaction of a job well done, knowing you did everything you could to make every life you touch better, all while suffering a bit driving a 30-year-old car because you can't afford a new one, and watching one of those poor unfortunates you help through your taxes buying their monster energy drinks and steaks and lobster with EBT to go get into their brand new Lexus. And people wonder why supervillains have fans. Story 36, that working hard doesn't always get you ahead. You need a lot more than that. And usually it has nothing to do with who you are, but a lot more to do with who you know and what privileges you have. So many people work hard every day, and so many people working crap jobs are doing everything they can to get noticed and try to move up and never, ever will, no matter how hard they work. Or if they do, they never travel in their whole career any higher than a lot of us start in our very first opportunities. And if you learn a thing or two from these stories, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video.